Oh, that's quite possible as well. Those costumes were cool, weren't they?
They were fun.
They were fun.
I liked it. Personally, I would rather deal with Kale crying in the corner or ignoring everyone than Zach interrupting my every conversation and harassing me and being a pervert and stealing people's panties and trying to look at Danielle in the shower.
Oh.
This leaves Kale around for a while, though.
Not a problem.
And Jen.
But
well,
somebody told me that...
If she doesn't have a leg to stand on.
But somebody told me that she's kind of... If she's going home and she knows
wants
she
to
doesn't...
go home before jury.
Well, what do I fucking care what she wants to
I know,
do?
that is very true.
I heard that too, though.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay.
Not from her. I haven't heard it from her.
Let's just go this way, all right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, just that one of those guys leave next week after Mike were to leave this week, just to play out a scenario. And who the fuck knows, will go in the 5th week. But nonetheless, that leaves Kale and Jen both in the house together. Who, if anyone, would the two of them be capable of pulling in out of who would be remaining? Could they go with Dustin and Amber? Could they go with Nick and Danielle? Is this a possibility that they will be able to form a full-on second sub-faction if they stay and have the two of them in their
There's no
numbers?
way that Danielle would connect with Kale. Danielle's told me a lot of things about Kale. Danielle was really glad that I put Kale up, and Danielle was more than willing to vote Kale out.
So is everyone else.
We need to get HOH the next 2 weeks.
The thing is, really, basically, at least one of the guys should go, and probably one of the girls should go also. I think that's really the honest truth of the matter. And because then it's really what is left at that point.
I don't see Zach as that big of a threat. I just see him as annoying.
He's a fucking nuisance.
Out of the two, I think that, you tell me, out of the two, Nick and Zach, who should really go strategically?
Well, that's the easiest question I've ever heard in my life. And you know my philosophy, that there are certain people...
We were talking about this in the very beginning, 2 and 3 days.
When there are certain people that when you have their chance, you have your chance, you take it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to let him get off and on and off and on.
This was the chance with Mike, and we got to take it. And if it happens with Nick next week, we got to fucking take it.
I think that is the case, and I do think it will make Danielle a stronger ally.
Absolutely.
With him out, and so on and so forth.
And if something's going to develop with them, let it happen outside of here.
If he's going to make a big brouhaha of himself, he may have put himself in a place where he has no choice but to vote with us for a few weeks anyway.
I know.
So there is part of me that says, let's just hold him hostage and then just take him out.
I was thinking the same thing.
In a couple weeks, because he's shot himself in the foot like such. Basically, I think his game fell apart when Joe left, because I think Joe was pulling his strings, and he's, not to be rude, but I don't think he's operating with fully from a intellectual standpoint without Joe guiding him. I think he was way in with Joe, way more than anyone knows or thought, although I did kind of think it.
And that's why Joe was so upset that Nick turned on him his little speech.
Of course. Well,
Let's see if the people
calling that out for ages, but I really believe that when he left, it just totally crapped out Nick's game, and I don't think he's recovered since. And then being called out in the same week as losing Joe, who was guiding him, I think he just totally lost his way.
Who did?
I think that what no one realizes is why all of a sudden Nick has all these chinks in his armor is because Joe left and Joe was telling him what to do.
Yeah.
He's not processing it properly on his own, and then he had his spot blown and he was called out on things, and then he didn't have Joe to fall back on to spin anything for him, and I just think he's losing his way, and he's channeling into just tantrums of anger. I mean, yesterday he spent all day lifting weights like a maniac. I mean, really, with a crazed look in his face, punching things, gets the beer taken away. He comes down the stairs after hiding in your HOH room with 5 empty beer cans. We had only had the beers for 10 minutes at that point. It's not like we had them for 5 hours or anything. You know, storming around. He's been all brooding. He's had fits at production and stuff like that.
Really?
Because he had a fucking tantrum. Nobody'll tell me when I can cut my fucking hair and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And a total outburst about it.
The whole thing, let me tell you, the whole thing with cutting the hair, I don't know if you guys know this or not. He's told me a few times, people are going to see a different Nick, the bad Nick, and I'm going to cut my hair, and that's why I'm growing this mustache, and I'm going to dye this mohawk black, and they're going to see a different side of Nick. He said that to me a few times. I'm here
He's
just to
gotta get
stir it
outta
up.
here.
I'm not here for the
I'll
money.
be happy that I'll be the first one at the door to shake his hand. I'll tell you that much. I do think that we should theoretically, if we're attempting to break this down, send home whoever we send home this week, then one of the big boys, and then one of Kale and Jen in the 5th week. I don't think we should leave any units together. Let's
Absolutely.
leave
I
everyone
agree.
standing on their own.
I agree.
Because Kale on her own does nothing. Jen on her own does nothing. The two of them together, they could,
Possibly pull
they could pull
something.
people in. But having the one of them floating around does nothing for anyone. Or if anything, it could just help some of us. Like, it's not like it would be a bad thing. If you end up isolating them, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's nothing left for them to do. So what are they going to do at that point? If they have two of them, it's going to just be an opportunity for people to defect off of us and join them, which I don't think is a good idea at all.
No.
Right.
But I'm not entirely
Jen's very smart. She's a lot smarter than people that give her credit for, and she's fucking competitive as hell.
Yeah, but she's not. Ultimately, the truth of the matter is she cannot and will not, under any circumstances, win. So she doesn't concern me, really, because I don't care. I mean, she could be standing up against a pile of shit at the end, and she would lose the final vote, so it doesn't matter.
But the whole thing with her, she would have to be backdoored, because you just can't run the risk of.
Yeah, you mentioned that too.
So.
And you know what? I don't think
But
that would be a bad idea with Nick either, to be
It
honest
becomes
with
a
you.
lot easier when there's less people, because it guarantees that people you're in with are playing the veto at this